Hello and welcome to Mystery Explorer. My name is Sean and I'm here with Andrew.
Hello, sir. The weirder thing to me, we were listening to this competing paranormal podcast, I guess. I forget what it's called now. It's like with Alice. But it's one that Alice, me and my daughter Alex listen, because she likes to listen to this sort of stuff. And we'll listen to some things if it's not too... And they're talking about just different premonition sites and stuff. We start talking about deja vu, and that is a dream thing that happens to me all the time, is deja vu stuff. Which is, she's like, well, it's not like you think you've been there before. I have deja vu of like, but it's like, if it's like an X-Men power, it's the most mundane superpower, because it's like, because my dreams are, so it's like, hey, I'm sitting here in this like airport talking to this person, or I'm sitting here in this weird waiting area talking, this person's there and this person's here, and then we're talking about the subject, and that's just what it's about. And literally that's what will happen 3 weeks later. I'm like, wait a second, that's what deja vu is to me. It's like, I dreamed like we were doing this at this moment. It's not like something we do all, you know what I mean? It's like, that's freaky. I was like, you were there, and I was in the situation we're talking about, you know, trees or something. I was like, that's strange. That's when deja vu happens to me. Like, it's when it's not that it feels like I dreamed that little scenario before.
I get that a lot because I tend to lucid dream. Like, so even when my dreams are really weird, usually there's a point in the dream where I go, this is a really weird dream. Yeah. But that's just sort of the way that there's always that layer on it. So they can't be really scary. I did have an interesting dream when I moved into this house. Because when I bought this house, it's like the number one thing. Like, you could say, I don't care what's wrong with this house. I just don't want it to have ghosts. Like, that's my number one thing, right, that I do not want. I don't want a haunted house because I can't handle that. And so, like, but not long after living in this house, and at the time I lived in it by myself when I first moved in, I had a dream that there was a ghost woman in the house named Sarah.
Okay.
And that was really weird. Like, there was like a whole history, like a backstory about like kids up in the attic with Halloween costumes on. And there was a fire and they were killed in the fire. It was like but most of it evaporated. But I remembered that element of Sarah the ghost.
In Savannah. Yeah. I'm from Savannah, but you currently still live in Savannah, which is every city says that. New Orleans says it, these other places say it, but it's always, if you talk about it, it's always on the list of the most haunted cities.
The older the city, Savannah's a fairly old city for America, so is New Orleans. Yeah. So they're more likely to have ghosts. Yeah. By their reckoning.
And there's like 30, 50,000 or 20,000 covered graves in downtown Savannah because they kept building the city on top of, like, they put the cemetery on the edge of town and they're like, we need more space, and they just covered the graves and didn't move them and just kept building the city.
And we had some interesting, horrific tragedies. Like, there was a massive yellow fever outbreak, and there's a lot of stories downtown about places where people were taken when they were stricken, or taken after they were dead to be housed because there were so many dead bodies.
And I didn't mean to get you off your story, but I just want to get the context. So when you moved in Savannah, it's actually an issue. If it's not just like moving through the suburbs a lot of time, and it is, honestly, because you're probably like in the midtown, but like if you're anywhere near midtown, downtown, it's like, I don't know, this could it's always a gamble. It's like there's a lot of weird stuff happening. Savannah's it's not as weird as Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, but it's like that for a reason. There is weirdness to it. There's
deep in voodoo country.
Yeah. 30 minutes after midnight up for the dog powers. That movie's horrible, but
terrible movie.
It's built on a night feeling that guy even had writing that, but because it feels so. There is something about Savannah that feels, and I imagine it feels. I've never been to New Orleans, but it feels like that too. There's just a history there, and a lot of, you can tell, probably a lot of strife and racism and all this other stuff has been through that.
Yeah, a lot of stuff that could brew up some.
Yeah, just through
I live
history.
on the south side. My house isn't that old, but I've known a lot of people live downtown and had some ghosty stories downtown from being down there. But like you said, every other building is haunted when the city is old enough.
Right.
But that was a fun one.
Yeah, related to that, I'll tell my one thing, the weirdness thing that ever happened to me. It's related to Savannah. And it's not even that scary, but I'll just say it because it's one of the times I went on a ghost tour downtown Savannah because my girlfriend at the time, this was like in college, when I was going to Armstrong down there. It was like I was 19 or 18 or 19. And then we went on a ghost tour. And during that ghost tour, there's a lot of, it's not just that houses are haunted. There's a lot of interesting stories in Savannah about like, I think there would be good movies that I'm surprised they haven't even been made into movies. Certain ones about that Renee story, the kid guy, like the giant guy that.
Yeah, and he's supposed to be out there. What is the name of that cemetery?
Colonial Cemetery.
Out that way, downtown.
Yeah, it's Colonial Cemetery, and there's a lot of interesting, weird things. There's a lot of interesting stories. But one of the things they say, because I've lived in that city for like 10 years at this point, I knew stuff and knew those things, but going on this tour is interesting. And one of them, they walked by the old post office building, which is the old courthouse, which used to be the post office, which I don't know what it is now. And the guy tells a story about the guy that had he had like a newspaper, and he tried to do a newspaper for a couple of years and it failed. He just was, and he felt like bitter and betrayed and all this stuff. And so in his last issue, he was going out of business. He wrote this like sort of like this prophecy poem, like F you to everybody kind of thing. And it was like, that's what we wrote a song about it, or about Bell's Wake Band, that curse of Old Shawnee. That's what he called it. He's basically putting a curse on Savannah. And so he goes through all these things and bad things that are going to happen. He says like a hurricane's going to hit there. And that's one of the things, a hurricane hit the next year, which is weird. So he goes through all these things that sort of came true, but you know how it is, the prophecy stuff. It's
exactly.
Wow. But he gets to this one in the story, and the way the guy tells it when you go on these tours, and he's like, there's a face on the northwestern side up to this certain point. And it says, and if you ever ask about who that face is, you'll be cursed. And it's like, God help the people who do know who it is. So I was like,
Jesus.
What? That's what the guy told us. I was
nice line, yeah. Good one.
And if you look up, it's really weird. And the architecture, it's like a kind of a white marble colonial exterior, right? And it has a bunch of kind of ornate like windows, like arched windows, and like kind of. And then there's like a face. There's like a human, almost like a face from a bust of a head, just carved into that side of the building. And it's not like a design element. It's just there on that one side. And it's just, I was like, what a weird story. That's weird. And so that was just a weird thing that happened. But that's not the weird thing that happened. After we left there, I was walking back with my girlfriend at the time, and I was like, yeah, that's weird about that face. Like, I wonder who it is. And she's like, oh, you're cursed. We had a curse. But I was like, we didn't get cursed.
Messing around with me on that shit.
And so this is we live in Savannah. This is like not we're visiting. We go downtown in Savannah all the time, especially when you're younger. You go to clubs and all this stuff, right? So we're constantly downtown Savannah. So I say that because we get back to her car, and immediately she has a ticket on her car. I was like, what the hell?
It hurts.
Well, and she had an expired tag. So this is the day before they send you an automated thing with computers. They didn't know. They had to pull you over. And that's one of those things, she had it at her house. She just never put it on. But it's been like off for like 2 months. So at this point, we never got anything. Been down almost at like 4 times a week. All these like, no. That's why I was like, it's not a coincidence. It's just like, that's really weird. The moment I said this, this like weird shit started happening. And then we got in the car, I was like, it smells like flowers. Do you smell flower? It was like, we started freaking ourselves out at that point. But then we immediately leave. We just got a ticket. You know, she could have gotten a ticket anytime in the last 3 months. Didn't get a ticket. I was driving. We leave. We pull out on Drayton towards Whitaker to go back north or back south down toward Midtown. Immediately, pew, pew, cops pull us over. And I was like, what the hell, dude? And he's like, your tag's expired. I was like, well, we just got a ticket. And he's like, well, this is a moving violation, so it's going to be double. I was like, but we just got a ticket. And so I know that's the only time I ever sort of yelled at a cop. That's, I guess,
the curse.
He's like, no, we just got it. It's like, I know you got it, and this is another one. I was like, how do I prevent from getting other tickets on the way home? You guys keep giving. He's like, well, go home. I was like, I was. And then he's like, oh.
I've been cursed.
Yeah, I've been cursed. You hear me? And then the cop, the car hits him. He's like,
yeah, exactly.
And he's like,
Final destination.
Plans in my hand.
Get out of here.
I was like, that's the beginning of the movie. And we were fine after that. And we broke up, and so maybe that was what. You never know if it's cursed. I never. She's an ex-girlfriend.
This guy is a straight up Jonah.